The NRA has recently received a lot of attention for rewriting classic fairy tales, including a bit of a twist. Firearms. So if you go to the NRA family site, they have a bunch of different resources to try to teach people about firearm safety and how to incorporate that with their kids. But they also have an area where they, as I said, have these rewritten classic fairy tales, a couple of which are, for example, Little Red Riding Hood has a gun, and Hansel and Gretel, parentheses, have guns. So these stories in particular have been written by author Amelia Hamilton, who claims to be a lifelong writer and patriot. She's a conservative blogger, and she's the author of the Growing Patriots children's book series. So on this website, when they give you the intro to Little Red Riding Hood has a gun, they say, quote, "Most of us probably grew up having fairy tales read to us as we drifted off to sleep, but how many times have you thought back and realized just how, well, grim some of them are? Did any of them ever make your rest a little bit uneasy? Have you ever wondered what those same fairy tales might sound like if the hapless Red Riding Hoods, Hansels and Gretels had been taught about gun safety and how to use firearms?" To which I ask you, Nick, have you ever thought about that when you were a kid drifting off to sleep? Were you like, if only they had guns to protect themselves?
All the bad guys have guns. They're going to always have guns, so you can't take away my right. Yeah. No, I never thought about that as I was drifting off to sleep. But I want to ask you if we can go into more detail as to like the actual stories themselves. Are they realistic? Like Mama Bear is walking through forest and then gets shot by the hunter because she's brown, and the hunter just assumes that she's also armed, so is quick to shoot her. Or like Rumpelstiltskin goes into the village and shoots up a bunch of people because of his own ideologies. Is it realistic, or is it like idealistic gun values?
Let me give you an idea. So, well, first of all, I'd like to say I don't have an issue with them rewriting classic fairy tales. I mean, the original fairy tales from way back in the day were really nasty, right? They were pretty brutal and violent. Like, you know, Cinderella's stepsisters are cutting off their toes to fit into the slipper. So I don't mind that. Disney's been doing it for the past 70 years to rewrite them a little bit more nicely. But I do find it interesting that, well, because here's an example from Hansel and Gretel Have Guns. Here's a little excerpt. Let me give you a dramatic reading. So, of course, the story begins because Hansel and Gretel's family, they're lacking food and they're hard up, they're poor, right? Yeah. However, according to this excerpt, quote, "Fortunately, they had been taught how safely to use a gun and had been hunting with their parents most of their lives. They knew that deep in the forest there were areas that had never been hunted where they may be able to hunt for food. They knew how to keep themselves safe should they find themselves in trouble." So of course, when they're going off into the woods, they encounter the witch, but they're like, "Oh, we have guns. We don't even have." They don't even have to worry about like being trapped by them and by the witch rather. And then Red Riding Hood, she's attacked by the wolf, but she both has a gun. Granny has a gun. She pulls out her shotgun. So really, it's. To me, I think it's hilarious, but...
It is hilarious, and, okay, fine. That one is about hunting. One of the few instances where I think, we should be able to have guns, right? And gun safety is important when, talking about, hunting, of course.
Yeah.
But the reason that they're doing these kinds of things, it's like to instill these ideas in these kids' heads, right? They see the direction that this country is moving in as far as gun control, gun safety, the way that people feel about them. They're like, oh, no, you don't. We're going to make sure that our conservative values stay in this new generation of little children because of this, evil, satanic, worshiping, liberal part of this country that wants to take away our rights, take them away.
Well, and I also think...
revoke our Second Amendment.
I mean, the stories themselves, I kind of, I write off as being silly, but there definitely is a more of a sinister undertone there. I mean, I think when you normalize guns in the minds of children, I don't necessarily, in my opinion, I don't think that that's exactly great. I mean, the NRA, they actually have youth hunting trips where they take 8 or 9-year-old kids to go learn how to hunt. I understand that that is a cultural thing. At the same time, I'm uncomfortable with kids just being like, oh yeah, well, I don't really ever have to worry about anything if I just have a gun on me all the time. So.
A very good point. And but the more that liberals will blast gun control in the media, the more conservatives are going to push towards normalizing guns and making sure that we maintain our freedom. Is that how they would put it? I mean, for example, when Obama gave that emotional address to the nation after those attacks, he was crying. A lot of conservatives went and said, oh, it was fake cries, crocodile tears, and then gun sales shot up for that reason, right? So the more you try to push one thing, they'll push back, but we can't deny that the country's moving in a progressive direction.
Exactly.
And it's just a matter of time before we change the way that we deal with guns in this country. No one wants to take them away.
Right.
No one wants to take them away.
Like you said, it's a very polarizing issue. Of course, the website, the NRA family website, and these fairy tales have received some criticism. For example, the Washington-based Coalition to Stop Gun Violence violence. On their Facebook page, they claim that it's a degenerate culture that corrupts children and encourages them to take on significant and unnecessary risks. So I think that kind of speaks to a little bit of what I'm thinking.
Nicely said.
Yeah, so NRA, I'm not sure. Kids with guns, not such a fairy tale.